You heard the headline, and yes, it's a roster wrinkle worth watching. The Cincinnati Bengals have released defensive tackle Mike Pennel, which immediately puts him back on the open market radar and right in the conversation for a Kansas City reunion. That fact alone has Chiefs fans buzzing because Pennel isn't just any free agent. He's a veteran who knows this defense, knows the locker room, and brought real, tangible value when he was here. If you remember, Pennel was a rotate and robustness kind of interior presence for us, a classic run stuffer who can come in on early downs and blunt the run, and he's got Super Bowl experience with the Chiefs that's not easy to replace. The Bengals release is the trigger that makes the conversation urgent again. If the Chiefs want him, the timing is clean, and he's available to sign now. Think about the immediate upside. A plug-and-play veteran depth piece who can relieve snaps from the starters and shore up short yardage downs. That's the kind of role Pennel has played for us in the past, and with game day roster decisions coming quick, a veteran like him can be the difference between scrambling for a stop in week-to-week matchups and having a known, reliable body to call on. I'm not saying Pennel is a long-term solution or that he's going to transform the D overnight. But when injuries or rotation fatigue hit, that's exactly the sort of player who keeps the ship steady. And let's be honest, the Chiefs' coaching staff values dudes who know the system and can step into snaps without a long learning curve. Now, I want to hear from you right away. Simple vote in the comments. Yes, if you want Mike Pennel back in red and gold this week. No, if you'd rather the front office chase a younger option. Put your vote, and one quick reason why. One sentence only. I'll read the best ones in the next video. Also, if you're new here and you want fast, no-nonsense Chiefs roster updates like this, hit subscribe and ring the bell. We're trying to get to 6,000 subscribers so we can keep putting out this kind of rapid reaction and analysis for you. Finally, smash the like button if you want more immediate roster rumor coverage. That helps the channel and helps other Chiefs fans find these updates. If the Chiefs were to move on this, what would you anticipate the role to be? Comment that too. Immediate rotational depth, short yardage specialist, or just a camp veteran staying ready? Your vote shapes what I cover next, so drop it now and keep listening, because next we'll break down exactly what Pennel brings on tape and how he fits into our defensive rotation. Mike Pennel might not be a flashy name anymore, but make no mistake, his calling card is exactly what most championship-caliber teams crave late in the season: reliable, rugged experience in the trenches. When he was in Kansas City, Pennel did the dirty work that doesn't always show up in stat lines. He absorbed double teams, clogged gaps, and gave Chris Jones the EE2, flexibility to rush more freely. It's easy to forget, but his impact was part of why the Chiefs' run defense stabilized during that Super Bowl run a few years back. And while it's true that the Chiefs' defensive front has evolved since then, the blueprint for success still leans on a similar foundation. Keep the linebackers clean, protect the edges, and let your stars attack. Pennel has proven he can execute that formula. Let's break it down a bit further. Pennel is a classic interior nose, tackle type, listed around 330 pounds. And while he's not known for pass rush flash, he's very good at anchoring in early down situations. That's exactly where Kansas City has struggled at times this season, especially when teams try to push the pile in short yardage or bleed the clock late in games. Even if you don't see Pennel racking up sacks, his presence alone changes the math for opposing offensive lines. His ability to take up space and hold his ground gives the Chiefs flexibility, with stunts and rotations that free up their quicker interior linemen. Think of him as the defensive line's safety valve. When things get physical, he's the one holding the middle. And here's something Chiefs fans appreciate. Pennel isn't just a fill-in veteran. He's a known locker room guy. Teammates have often described him as humble, disciplined, and team first. He's not chasing spotlight. He just wants to contribute. That's one reason so many fans immediately mentioned his name when the Bengals let him go. It's not about nostalgia, it's about trust. Fans know what he brings, and coaches know what to expect from him. You can't always say that about free agents who parachute in mid-season. With Pennel, there's no guessing. He's done the job here before, and he's kept himself in shape for exactly this kind of opportunity. Another point worth noting, and this matters to defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, is familiarity. Pennel knows Spag's system inside and out. That might sound small, but in the middle of the season, when practice time is limited, that kind of familiarity is gold. If Pennel were signed, he wouldn't need weeks of ramp-up time. He could be active almost immediately and play a situational role by the next game. That's the appeal here. The Chiefs could shore up a depth spot without disrupting the chemistry or learning curve that normally comes with new additions. It's the kind of low-risk, high-comfort signing that championship teams make all the time. Now, some fans might argue that Kansas City should prioritize youth and development instead, and that's fair. Guys like Tershawn Wharton and Neil Farrell Jr. are still trying to cement their roles, and giving them reps builds the future. But there's also a balance to strike. The NFL is a war of attrition, especially in the trenches. Having a veteran like Pennel on standby can keep your younger linemen fresher and ready when it matters most. January football. You don't want to burn out your depth early. Instead, you rotate, manage snaps, and keep everyone healthy for the playoff stretch. So, here's a question for you. If you were in Brett Veach's seat, what's your move? Would you lean on the youth movement or bring in a reliable vet like Pennel for the stretch run? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm curious to see if fans are thinking long-term roster building or short-term insurance for another Super Bowl push. And hey, while you're typing that out, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We're pushing hard toward our goal of 6,000 subscribers, and every click helps us stay ahead of every roster story, just like this one. When you hear talk about bringing a player back mid-season, it's easy to assume it's just a matter of picking up the phone, signing the deal, and putting him on the field. But in the NFL, especially with a team as deep and well-managed as the Kansas City Chiefs, it's rarely that simple. The first question Brett Veach and Andy Reid have to answer is this: where does Mike Pennel fit right now on the 53-man roster? Because even though adding a veteran presence on the defensive line sounds great, someone has to come off that list to make room. The Chiefs' defensive line currently has its core rotation: Chris Jones, Derek Noddy, Tershawn Wharton, Neil Farrell Jr., and Mike Dana when they kick him inside on certain packages. Depending on how you count your ends and tackles, there's not a ton of flexibility unless an injury or performance issue opens the door. That's why, if this reunion happens, the most likely first step would be Pennel signing to the practice squad. It's the safest route, gives the team a week or two to evaluate him in practice, and doesn't immediately force a corresponding cut. Then, if the coaches like what they see, they can elevate him for game days as needed. That path makes sense both financially and logistically. Speaking of finances, Pennel's price tag would be manageable. We're not talking about a multi-year deal or a high cap hit. It would almost certainly be a veteran minimum type of contract, a low-risk commitment that gives the team flexibility to move on if needed. For a front office like Kansas City's, that's ideal. The Chiefs are constantly balancing short-term needs against long-term cap strategy. especially with extensions looming for key players. Adding Pennel on a short, team-friendly deal would be right in their comfort zone. Then there's timing. They'd see Bengals released Pennel at a point in the season when most teams are fine-tuning their depth, rather than overhauling it. For Kansas City, that's perfect. The Chiefs are a contender, sitting comfortably in the playoff mix. And this is the stage when smart franchises start building contingency depth. Signing a player like Pennel in late October or early November gives you about half a season to integrate him before the postseason. That's the same kind of timing the team used with other mid-season additions in the past. Quiet, under-the-radar moves that ended up paying dividends in the playoffs. Now, the roster mechanics can also work in Pennel's favor. The NFL allows for up to 3 standard elevations from the practice squad before a team must decide whether to sign a player to the active roster. That means the Chiefs could essentially give Pennel a 3-game audition without long-term commitment. If he performs well and fills a gap, they could make it official before December. And if he or not, they can revert him back or move on with minimal impact. It's smart roster management, and it gives both sides flexibility. There's also the question of fit with the current defensive identity. Steve Spagnuolo's scheme emphasizes versatility. He loves linemen who can shift between roles and plug different gaps depending on the matchup. That's why Pennel makes sense as an emergency call-up. You don't need to overhaul your playbook or install special packages. You just insert him into the rotation, where you need more size and strength. In short yardage or goal line situations, that kind of depth can be a quiet difference maker in big games. I'll throw this question to you. If the Chiefs were to sign Pennel to the practice squad tomorrow, how soon would you want to see him on the field? Week 9? Week 10? Or do you think they should hold him in reserve until the colder December games, when teams start pounding the run more aggressively? Drop your take in the comments. I'll be reading through those before we do our next update video. And again, if you're enjoying how we break down not just the rumors, but the mechanics of how these moves actually happen, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on. We're closing in on that 6,000 subscriber goal, and your support genuinely helps this community grow. At the end of the day, this question isn't just about a single player. It's about the kind of team the Chiefs want to be down the stretch. Bringing Mike Pennel back would send a clear message. Kansas City is prioritizing experience, stability, and playoff readiness over development. And honestly, that wouldn't be a bad message at all. We've seen what happens when depth gets tested in December, injuries pile up, rotations get thin, and games start turning into battles of attrition. Having someone like Pennel waiting in the wings isn't a flashy move, but it's the type of insurance championship teams invest in quietly. Think about what's ahead on the schedule. The Chiefs are facing some physical offenses, teams that like to run the ball, test your interior line, and try to wear you out. Even if the starters hold up, having one more big body who knows the scheme can save your front 7 from burning out late in the year. And that's where Pennel's value really shines. He's not a star. He's not going to lead the highlight reel. But when you need a 3rd and 1 stop, he's the guy who does the heavy lifting, so your stars can finish the job. Now, let's play devil's advocate for a second. The other side of this argument says Kansas City should keep looking forward, not backward. That the defensive line room already has enough experience, and that reps should go to younger players who can grow into long-term contributors. That's a fair point. You don't want to clog up developmental pathways just for the comfort of a known veteran. But here's the balance. Brett Veach and Andy Reid have always been good at striking. They don't bring guys back for nostalgia. They do it when there's a real role to fill. If the team believes Pennel still has enough juice to plug a gap and help in short yardage defense, then it's a calculated, no-nonsense move. And the truth is, the Chiefs have made similar decisions before, and they've worked. Kansas City has always kept 1 or 2 veterans on standby to stabilize key units when depth gets shaky. It's not about headlines, it's about having the right kind of reinforcements. Bringing Pennel back would fit right into that playbook. A 1-year deal, low cost, instant familiarity, and a respected voice in the locker room. There's no real downside here. If I had to put it plainly, yes, I think a reunion makes sense. You're not paying him to be a starter. You're bringing him in as insurance. And the best teams in the league never gamble on depth when the stakes get high. The Chiefs' defensive identity this season has been about toughness and versatility. Adding one more trusted veteran who's been through the fire before just reinforces that identity. He's not here to take over, he's here to hold the line. So here's my question to you. If you could make the call right now, what would you do? Bring Pennel back and reinforce the trenches, or stay the course with the current roster and trust the young guys to develop? Drop your take below. I really want to see how divided or united Chiefs Kingdom is on this one. And while you're there, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this breakdown. It really helps get these updates in front of more fans who live and breathe this team like you do. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the perfect time. We're so close to hitting that 6,000 subscriber milestone, and every single one of you who joins makes a difference. You'll always get Chiefs news fast, clear, and with no fluff. Just real football talk, straight to the point. So hit that button, tap the bell, and join the family. We've got more coming soon, updates on roster moves, player returns, and all the under-the-radar storylines that matter as Kansas City pushes for another deep playoff run. Stay tuned, stay proud, and as always, go Chiefs!